Have you experienced a tragedy in your life that has left you angry with God? Join us today as we have an interview with Dave Epp, who has a story that starts with tragedy but ends with victory through Jesus.
UPD starts now.
Hey friends, thank you so much for joining us today on Untrained Philosophical Discussions. My name's Jonny Hanson. There's my good buddy Andy Lamb. We have a very special guest today that's rounding out our Angry at God series. Andy is going to read you the bio and we're going to get started.
Yeah. Dave is a follower of Christ first and foremost. He is a husband, been married for almost 27 years. Father of 4, which he lost one of his kids at 17 days old. He's the author of the book, Through Their Voices, which will be released soon, and a mentor to many. Ladies and gentlemen, my good buddy, Dave Epp.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it,
guys.
Yeah, welcome, man.
Yeah, thank you.
How long have you and Andy known each other?
Oh, man. Since we were 5 years old. Yeah, 5.
Hey, real quick before we start, I think this is important. I think, Jonny, if you could announce to our audience, who's the best fisherman in the whole world?
Holy smokes.
You could just tell everybody. I mean, I've got receipts here. So.
If we mean the fisherman who falls in the water most frequently off the boat, well, that's you.
That's me. But go ahead. Just tell the audience, who's the best fisherman?
Oh, my goodness.
Who is?
You'll see the video. There's a video coming out, I'm sure.
The greatest fisherman in the world.
That right here. Best fisherman in the whole world.
Moving right along.
I'm going to get my weight in that one, man. Dave, we want to jump into your story, man, and we just want to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
We're going to be, our focal point is being angry at God, and, I know that's going to be a big aspect of your life, but we want to kind of walk people through how you got there. And so start at the beginning. We want to start, where you're born at, house you grew up in.
Sure, yeah. So 47 years old, right? And I've been following Jesus now for, I would say, 2 years.
Yeah.
And for the first 45 years of my life, really all I knew, my MO, was anger. And a lot of that came in the beginning, came from legalism in religion and just the stringent rules that I thought were placed on me. And so out of those, I'd see somebody break those rules. I would see somebody, get out of place or, not take their hat off when they prayed or something like that. And then that would consume me. It was never about Jesus. It was never about any of those things. And so I just lived in this constant state of rage all the time. And through that, there was a little bit of bullying going on maybe early in my life. There was a little bit of abuse and things like that. And so that just kept fueling it. It just kept dumping fire on top of the rage that was inside of me, to the point where I just got to the point where I felt it was easier to hit somebody in the mouth than to have a conversation with them. So that kind of became my MO. When there was pain, when there was hurt, when there was, in neglect or anything like that, I would just go seek what I call pain. I would go look for it. Whether that was, not proud of some of those stories, but to get into them, just to, maybe I would go downtown and find 3 bums to fight in an alley, just because I knew that I was going to lose, but it was going to be painful. Whether that was to hurt somebody on purpose, I did plenty of that. Most of my life was me seeking pain, looking for pain, looking to inflict pain on other people because I was just miserable.
So when you were the household that you grew up in, were your parents religious at all?
They were very religious people.
What kind of church did they go to?
So they grew up Mennonite. I grew up, was told that I was a Mennonite. My mom would tell me, "You're a Mennonite." I'm like, "I'm not a Mennonite."
I don't know anything about Mennonites.
It's a step up from
Amish.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that there's...
Amish adjacent.
Amish, seriously, yeah.
Mennonite believed in electricity.
Yep. So, yeah, Mennonites,
okay,
Mennonites, the ones that really
Are they still
follow...
involved in that?
They're not. My mom would still say that she's a Mennonite.
Okay.
My dad would say that he's probably not.
And they're together?
They are
still?
together, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're coming up in this household. How many times a week? I mean, are you going to church? What does that look like?
3 times, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, 3, 4. I mean, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, and then usually some form of group also in there. Now I wasn't raised in the Mennonite church. When I was 5, we left the Mennonite church, and then we went to, what most people called Bible-believing churches, or anything that started with the word free or first or anything like that, So, very, like the person that, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, the person that was referred to a lot in our churches would be like John MacArthur. So his teachings were followed very, very, very closely. So those were the type of churches that I was raised in. And it was Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and then usually a prayer gathering, and then even sometimes like a group. So 4, 5, 6 times. And so it was religion.
Who's John MacArthur?
He's just a kind of a pastor that a lot of people
just
know.
recently passed away, but he's out in California. He's a Reformed pastor, very high church.
Yeah.
Just say that, very high church.
What does that mean?
You wear a suit when you go to church, and if you don't wear a suit when you go to church, then clearly you don't respect God.
So there's a lot of rules.
A lot of rules.
Zero grace, all truth.
Okay.
But Dave and I grew up also in a Christian school that he and I went kindergarten to 12th grade together. That was very legalistic in the way that it was all rules, no grace.
When you're young like that, are you being bullied at a very young age? Is that because you said bullying?
Yeah. So, there was a lot of bullying going on, and I think a lot of the bullying
In the house or at school?
A lot of school.
Okay.
And even from teachers. Like me and Andy weren't the most scholastic type kids.
Shocking.
We like to maybe what some people call jack around a little bit. Jack around and find out, right? And so we found out really hard. And so we weren't, I mean, honestly, looking, now that I have children, looking at it, we weren't allowed to be kids. It was strict rules. It was dress code. It was collared shirts. It was tucked in. Oh, yeah. It was, I mean, I got spanked at school, with paddles, a lot, right? So it was nothing to get pulled in to get a whooping at school even.
And your parents were fine with that?
Well, they sent me there.
Okay.
So
but if you would go home and say, hey, mom or dad.
Mom and dad would have been totally fine with it.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Yeah. They would.
Not everybody's familiar with this.
Yeah.
No. It's very foreign.
How it used to be.
It's how it used to
Especially
be. Especially
in Catholic or Christian schools. It was
very stringent.
Very stringent like that. So, yeah, we grew up in a strict set of rules at school you adhere to. You go by the rules. And we got to be careful, because I'm not saying that kids shouldn't have rules and that there shouldn't be discipline and that you shouldn't be. It wasn't all bad.
No.
Just to be real clear, it wasn't all bad. I mean, the foundation of our faith was understanding of the Bible was still gathered while we were there, but it was a very much high truth, low grace. So there is a lot that can be negatively formed in somebody's life, especially at an early age, of who Christ is, if it's all just follow the rules.
So high truth, low grace, is that how your parents' discipline was as well then?
My parents were a little bit more free at home with me, and what I mean by that is I think they kind of got it. They supported me at home. So the thing that I honestly have struggled with as an adult is they sent me there. They didn't really agree with it, but they continued to send me there. Mm-hmm. So that is a little bit of my struggle as an adult now, and I'm very cognizant of that as a father now, of putting my kids into situations that maybe they're not excelling in. So they didn't promote that type of behavior or that type of extreme religion at home. Mm-hmm. Like me and my dad would sit down and watch Beavis and Butthead, right? Well, that was forbidden to be watched in our church. It was said from the pulpit. Mm-hmm. If you watch that show, you will go to hell. I mean, I remember it said, but me and my dad would still sit down and watch it. Andy would come over and watch it with us. Sure. And so that type of thing was preached from the pulpit at our churches and even schools. If you watched if you went to an R-rated movie, you would, there was an extreme chastisement. It was pretty extreme. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, teachers in our school would get fired if they got caught in an R-rated movie.
If they got caught drinking.
Drinking.
We're allowed to drink.
Yep. Anything. R-rated movies, drinking, smoking, anything like that. I remember kids getting expelled for TPing a house. Mm. So there was no grace. And so my parents weren't that way, but they sent me to a school that was that way, and we went to a church that was that way. So that's where I'm actually struggling a little bit as an adult in my presence, kind of where I'm at, is what did they or do they believe? So
You talked about abuse. Can you get into that?
You know, I don't know if I'm really ready to dive deep into that one, to be honest with you. Like, that one is one that I have to I'm unpacking right now with some serious counseling.
Yeah.
I did have some abusive family members. Running away was kind of my MO. I remember sitting down with my uncle, who kind of half raised me, and he told me a story one time of a time that I was kind of whooped up on a little bit, maybe by a family member, and I ran away. I was like 10. I ran away for like a couple days. Nobody knew where I was. My parents were out of town, actually. I don't even know if they were notified. And so it just was kind of like, I don't know where I was. I don't even recall that. And that story was told to me by someone else. So I think that might be another one for another day, honestly. Like, just that might be a different time.
So, if you're experiencing these things that are, as you're reflecting back even now, and they're painful, hurtful, imagine you said at the beginning, you said about anger and rage.
Yeah.
What's your outlet when you're young? Are you playing sports? Are you doing anything that kind of like gets some of those energies out when you're a boy?
Yeah. So I played football. And I loved playing football because it allowed me to hurt people. So I would have won the dirtiest player of the year every single year, and I was proud of that. I really enjoyed inflicting pain on other people, and so that was kind of an outlet. I really wanted to get into fighting of some form, but I'm 47. Fighting wasn't really a thing back then, right? You could box, but I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm not from the Bronx, so there wasn't a boxing ring on every corner. So I didn't really have an outlet besides just find fights, find pain. And a lot of it was self-inflicted. There'd be many nights where I would sit there and I would beat a concrete or a wooden wall with my fists until they bled.
You and Andy ever get in a fight?
Yeah. I have a really quick story on that.
Let's hear it.
I actually tried to kill Andy, and he did. So
join the club.
Yeah, right. Like, it would have been actual death. We got into it at a baseball practice, and I snapped.
What started it?
I don't know. He just said something. I don't even remember what started it. Probably wasn't much. He maybe.
Do you remember?
I don't. But
Okay.
I said a lot of things. So.
Oh yeah, you're slick.
It's still.
Yeah, we were great, awesome friends. But he just barked, and I
fought a half dozen of my buddies. I fought my brothers.
Yeah. Me and Andy have punched each other in the mouth 25, 30, 40, 50 times.
Sure.
But this time really stands out to me because he barked and I bit, and he turned around and he had braces on, and I smoked him. And I could see his braces sticking through his lip. Mm-hmm. And he's like instantly bleed, like gushing blood. And he looks at me with this and he has this rage in his eyes. Like, he's coming at me. I'm like, well, of course, I just punched him in the mouth, right? Mm-hmm. And I picked up a bat right there in the dugout, and I swung, and I was going to hit, and he wasn't going to be able to block. I mean, I had the advantage, and he was coming at me, and I swung, and I was going to hit him in the side of the skull with a bat as hard as I could. Mm-hmm. And right as I did it, a coach grabbed the bat before I was able to break that swing and get power, and stopped it and then pushed me on the ground. And so I just remember playing that over in my head, thinking, I have so much rage that I was willing to kill my best friend. Mm-hmm. And that was hard, man. Like, I had to play that over and over and over and over. And knowing that I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to hurt him. But I was, in the moment, I snapped. Something inside of me just took over, and I was willing to strike him in the head with an aluminum baseball bat as hard as I could.
You remember that time? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You don't get your braces pushed through your
You don't.
lip and forget about it.
Freshmen in high school.
Okay.
When that happened. But yeah. I mean, I didn't know that second part, so that's good to know. It would have been to your detriment if you had killed me, because you wouldn't be able to be friends with the best fisherman in the world. So, I'm never going to live that one down.
This is going sideways quick.
From there, Dave, as we kind of, went through school and growing up, we did a lot of sports together.
Yeah.
You went on to play college football. But my earliest members of Dave, Dave comes from blue collar family, and so they had a concrete company. And so, Dave during the summertime was just blue collar out laying foundations and pouring concrete as you were growing up. But when you think back to growing up, and we kind of want to bring Christ back into a little bit of our formation of things, because I think that's still the foundation of where we're at. What was your life like growing up, going through school? Was there ever anything that you were ever pointing to Jesus, like really in that? Do you when you look back, do you see Jesus anywhere in your life at all growing up?
I think the only time that I really find Jesus is there's a couple church camps, a couple youth revivals maybe, where me and you typically would go on together and kind of come back jacked up and fired up. And okay, that's it, man. I'm ready to change things around. But we were never looking back now, and this is, I'm not blaming anybody. Please understand, people are going to take maybe a little bit of you're blaming me for no, I'm not blaming anybody. But I was never really given next steps. It was like, okay, here's Jesus, here's the plan of attack, here's salvation, do it. That's it. That's all you needed. Now you're done. No, you're good. You said a prayer. You raised your hands. You went to an altar call. So there was a couple of those. You guys referenced on one of your podcasts the burning of the CDs. Mm-hmm. I was heavily involved in that.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I took your Dr. Dre CD.
Yeah. Dr. Dre, Cypress Hill.
I took it out.
Eazy-E. I had them all, bro. And so I was the guy that went up and dumped 100 CDs in the bin, thinking that that's what Christ needed. I believed in God, and I believed that Jesus walked on the earth, but I didn't know the Holy Spirit at all.
I don't pretend to know a woman's mind, but I know that us as men, we're purpose-driven. Mm-hmm. So we like to have actions that we can take that will keep us on whatever path it is. And, if we're not being given those markers, those objectives, then it becomes difficult to kind of track what you want from me, especially something like a spiritual relationship with the creator of the universe.
Correct.
It's confusing. And then when you're a child, you're confused about everything. And now you throw this massive thing in. And if somebody's not there to really truly guide you, basically step by step, then it's chaos. Yeah. And it would be very hard to continue to track that path. Hey, young child, go read your Bible, which, I'm 46 years old. I have a difficult time reading the Bible frequently.
Sure.
So you're 12, 13, 14, a message is given, your heart is inspired, but then nobody's there to continue to walk this path with you. You're going to just kind of, it's going to be derailed pretty quickly by the world, as we'll call it,
really good
society.
Really good way to put it.
That's a great question. When were you impacted? What kind of impact? Were you having those same kind of impacts? I know that you went and burned CDs too, but did you feel more motivated and connected than maybe Dave did? And then how were you guys, were you trying to connect him more if you were more connected? I know that you, in the way that you've told your story, you had more of a church heart and you had more of a Jesus heart.
I did. I think I had more because I had my mother, we've talked about it here. My dad was not there growing up. My dad's amazing today. God, restored his life. But I had an amazing mom. Amazing mom who just has loved Jesus.
I have an amazing mom.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've never known a day that my mom didn't love Jesus and exemplify Jesus ever. Mm-hmm. Not one day ever have I seen her.
Did you receive that too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Sue was very, 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 very instrumental in my life, speaking into me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I had at home, I had a place of peace with my mom. She's amazing. And so I had a picture of Christ through my mom. Mm-hmm. And so I think that for me was one of the greatest things that I have, the greatest gifts I had from God to connect me to. This is what somebody who looks like Jesus is. Mm-hmm. Along the way, like when you're at a Christian school, you have Bible classes. So we had a Bible teacher at our school named Ned Pauley, who he married my wife and I. He was instrumental. He was our youth pastor, and then he taught. So he was an instrumental person in the foundation of me knowing who Jesus is, just taught me grace and taught me love. And so we used to go away. We would go to like camps or revival things that he would lead at, and that was instrumental in me seeing who Jesus was. So when I look back to my high school days, I can definitely see times where I was following Christ. Because people ask me this all the time: when did you come to know Jesus? And my answer is always, I don't know. You know, Bible tells us in Matthew 7, you'll know their mind by their fruit. And so I looked back at that stage of my life, and there was moments in my life where there was fruit in my life as a desire to be a follower of Christ. But, you know, as I went to college, then that wheels came off at a very different moment there, and that changed my life dramatically too.
They did come off for you pretty hard.
So as you're seeing him sometimes have these, you know, his moments of inspiration lead to kind of a longer walk. Are you following that at all? Are you tracking that? Or are you kind of pushing back against it in your friendship?
No. He inspired me a lot of times. There are a lot of times he would be kind of like the horse to my carriage. And so like we would flock together pretty heavy, and we'd be like, okay, we're not gonna cuss this week. We're not gonna drink this week. You know, like we're heavy drinkers, even at early age. You know, really would seek alcohol, drugs, and so that the irony of growing up in a church and growing up in a Christian school and all those things, and still seeking those things, those vices, was very real to us. It was not uncommon for us to find alcohol or drugs or some kind of, you know, porn, whatever that is, whatever the vice of the day was. But he would I would say would pull me up a little bit, and I think a little bit both ways. Sometimes where I'd be like, Andy, come on, let's follow Jesus today. So, like I said, I didn't have a relationship, but I believed. I believed, but didn't have that relationship. Probably a safe way to say that. Right?
I think that'd be an accurate way to explain our relationship with Christ at that point in time. It's
hot and cold.
It is hot and cold, but it's also a youthful relationship too, where you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so it's hard to be inspired by anything if you don't know the whole story. You know, I would relate it to sports. If I don't know how to play a sport, it's hard for me to be good at that sport. And so I relate that to a relationship with Christ. You don't know what you don't know.
And how do you get good at a sport? You have a good
coach.
Right.
You practice.
So how
learn
do we
the
reflect?
rules.
How can we go about reflecting that in a Christian way? It's that mentorship once again.
Yeah.
It's really, you know, as you're saying you're doing now with your kids, you're taking an active role in their life to kind of raise them up differently than you were raised up.
So you know what I do? Like, I'll ask my kids, did you read the Bible today? Yeah. Then I take it one step further. What did you read?
Sure.
So because that's what I needed people to ask me. I would have said yes, because I would have probably lied. There was a few times I read my Bible. I didn't know what it meant, but I'd read it. And so now I'm like, well, what did you read? You know, I'll ask my sons and even my daughter or my wife, hey, what did you read? And what did you get out of it? So I want to take it that next step. Like I want to level up and then level up and then level up. And so that's what and then I'm also growing off of them. They might, my wife will read the Old Testament, which I struggle in, being a new believer. And I will glean so much from her on what she teaches me by her reading, by just asking her, what did you read and what did you get out of it? And I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't know that Daniel had all that in it. Oh, wow. I didn't know that First Kings had all that. Like, what? Ezekiel has what? So that is where I've really grown. It's just by asking those questions. And I told myself that, you know, I think with the Spirit's help, like, just ask a lot of questions. Even if you sound dumb, just ask questions.
In the book of Proverbs, it talks about iron sharpens iron. We spoke about this recently on one of our shows. And, you know, we always assume that, I always have, rather, I should say, speak for myself. I've always assumed that's kind of like, you know, men sharpen men by being good buddies and mentors and going through the muck. But your wife isn't iron sharpens iron. She's iron. And you should be sharpening her, and she'll sharpen you too. So respect on that. Of course, that's how it should be. You know, God gave you that woman, not just for you to take care of and you know, have as a wife, but she's also your counterpart. It'd say maybe the yin and the yang, but it's like she's that other side of you when you need that other side. She sees things from a different perspective and can help you along in those times. And when you're weak, she can be strong, and vice versa.
So the irony of the book that I just wrote, and Andy knows me, I'm not an author. This was a Spirit-led book, completely Spirit-led, and it's called Through Their Voices, right? Well, those voices were people that I would have never, ever listened to before, and they spoke truth into me. And most of them were women who I used to, with my religious upbringing, used to be well beneath me. I was taught, like in the school that we grew up in, and still to this day, teachers are not allowed to pray over any boy. Any female cannot pray over any boy after the 6th grade. I never heard a woman pray until I was 19 years old. I never saw a woman on stage ever of any sort at a church until I was well into my 20s. I never heard a woman pray from a stage until I was like maybe mid-30s. So like young people, I would have discounted them. My now daughter-in-law just absolutely trashed me in a great way. I mean that in a wonderful way. And she called me out so heavy in just my sin. She was 17 years old, and she was obviously a female. And she was so discounted in my mind. Like I would have never listened to a 17-year-old. I would have never listened to a woman. I would have never listened to a young man. But if you were 18 years old and spoke truth into me and I'm 30, get away from me. That was my mentality. And so God used people through their voices. He didn't really bring in these alpha males, these Navy SEAL type men, these door kickers, right? He didn't bring those type of men in. Yes, Andy was very, very instrumental. And Andy is laden all over my book. In the book that I wrote, he's in there a lot, but he's really the only one. Everybody else would have been considered in my eyes as weak, meek, way too humble. I didn't believe in mercy. I thought mercy was a made up thing that weak people used. And I would tell my kids that. We now go to a church called Mercy City. And my kids actually started going before me. And I'm like, that's the dumbest name I've ever heard. They're like, why? I'm like, mercy's not a real thing. It's what weak people say and use. It's a term that they use because they want to continue to stay in the weakness. And that's what I use, and that's what I used to say. And so, and I called it a cult. I said all those negative and terrible things. And ironically enough, the pastor is now one of my closest best friends. And so,
yeah, God has a way of doing that.
God has a way of doing that.
Back into the timeline here, I think the last time we visited, it was like freshman in high school. So as you go through and complete high school, what is your high school takeaway? If you look back at that whole thing, what would be your takeaway from that time?
The only good takeaways I actually have from high school is my wife.
You met her there?
Yes.
Okay.
And my friendship.
When did you meet?
Friendships.
How old were you when you met?
Junior year I met my wife, and she did not like me. I would not have liked me. I was a pretty dangerous human being, into inappropriate just things, fighting, anger, volatile, very volatile. Sure. But for some reason, I knew I really liked her senior year, and I'm like, I'm going to invite her to youth group. I had no desire to really go to youth group. I just had a desire to get to know her. So I was like,
common. Yeah. Young guy. I'm going to go to. Yeah. I think every guy's maybe.
She has always followed Jesus. She's kind of like Sue Lamb, like she, like Andy's mom, where she just follows Jesus, and she's always followed Jesus, and she's always had a relationship. And so, I did a really good job of faking it. Really, really good job of faking it and making people think that I was following Jesus, but in reality, there was.
So she joined you?
Yep, she joined me, and then so we.
Have you guys been together since?
We've been together ever since.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So he went away to college.
That's where I was going next.
Yeah.
What college did you go to?
Just a local college.
Okay.
In Nebraska. A smaller local college, and
to play football specifically.
Play football. Yeah.
Okay. Did your wife join you there?
No, she went to another college in town.
Okay.
So, I only went to school to play football. That's it.
Having that kind of a separation, did you guys live together and then go to school?
No, she lived in an apartment, and then I lived in the dorms for a while.
And then, how's having a relationship with that kind of distance? Two separate schools.
Lincoln is a town of 300,000 people, so the two schools are.
It's easy enough to do.
I saw her every night.
The two schools are a mile and a half away. So
yeah.
It's there's nothing there to be separated like that. But this is where Dave and I separated was
heavy. We would go we'd probably went a year, strong year.
Oh, at minimum. Minimum, without, just my lifestyle went one way, and his was focused. He had a girlfriend. I mean, you guys got married at
20.
At 20 years old.
Yep.
So
and you did.
At 20 years old, I was ripping a different lifestyle at that point in time. And so we were no longer in communication with one another.
Did you see that happening to him, and you knew you were on a different path and kind of stuck to your path?
So I talk about being kind of a dangerous man, but Andy kind of took a path of real, like extreme, like just another direction, a way that I didn't really want to go.
We've talked about it here.
A lot of deeper in a hole with drugs and alcohol and just people.
Yep.
That I was like, I just don't like, And I was trying. I always I always felt it like I wanted to change. I knew that there was something out there for me. I didn't want to be the man that I was.
What do you mean by that?
I didn't want to be. So it wasn't until I was 45 years old that I actually truly smiled. Mm-hmm. I never really smiled until I actually had. And so what I mean by that is I was never, ever happy. But I saw happy people. I saw my wife. I saw people like his mom, and I saw people like my grandma or somebody like that. And they were happy. But I could never figure that out. And so I always wanted that. But I was like, I don't understand how you're happy. It just didn't, it didn't dawn on, like it just, I couldn't figure it out. And so, but he took a path of just
chaos
and destruction. And though I was on this similar path, it just looked different to me. So I was like, it was easy to judge him through the legalism and the religion. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, he's off the deep end. I was no better. Mine was just hidden. He just decided not, really, the difference? He just decided not to hide his anymore. He just kind of, I always say like rats are like, sin is like rats. When you walk into a room and you flip a light on, the rats scatter. And everybody wants to keep their rats hidden. Andy decided at that moment in his life he didn't care who saw his rats. And so he just flipped a light on himself. Mm-hmm. And he just was like, I don't care. I don't care what you see. I don't care who you are. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pave my own way and be my own God. And that's ultimately what it is. Mm-hmm. When we're doing that. We're being our own God. Mm-hmm. And that's what he chose. I chose to do it with my lights off. I chose to be I've served very heavily and deep in a church for many, many, many years with just extreme rage, alcoholism, drug abuse, behind the scenes, and nobody knew. My lights were off.
So you're 21, 22. You guys have a baby.
Yep.
And
we lost our first one to a miscarriage.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, the only thing I have to talk about that is the hardest part of that, of losing a baby to a miscarriage for me as a young man, was it didn't affect me, but it really affected my wife.
How so?
She was crushed. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the feeling. But I think that I think a woman, I don't know, kind of feels like they failed. And it's obviously not. We know the science,
of course.
Right? Like they didn't fail anything. We'll get into the story of my daughter and what a geneticist said to me. But for a human being to actually grow is very difficult. And so she took it very hard. And I was just like, what is the deal here? Like,
your wife also is one of those women who is born to be a mother.
Yeah.
And so for my wife's the same way. And so for women who are who have that desire that I just want to be a mom, when something like that happens to them, it of course it crushes them because like you just said, they feel like they did something wrong, somehow they failed. And so they creates more ownership for them. Whereas, for guys, it's like, we'll try again.
Yeah.
So I can see that, through the lens of what your wife.
It didn't affect me. I mean, it affected me watching her struggle. Like that was hard to watch, but it just didn't. I was just like, that's just part of the plan here. That's just what happens, right? You see it in the animal world, you see it in the human world, you see it all over. Mm-hmm. A lot of.
Did you verbalize that to her that way?
No, I
probably wouldn't have been
didn't talk. That was kind of my MO for the last 40 years. That's for the last 45 years. I just was mute. Just would never speak about anything. I was a vault.
Really, though, I mean, I look at that and I'm like, what do you say other than some super unhelpful platitude like, we'll get him next time, champ?
Yeah.
It's sometimes I think it's what we don't say, and just being there with them in the silence of it is what's valuable, that they just know that we're there. Because I don't
think I was there, though. I don't think I checked out.
Did you?
Like, whatever. Yeah, I mentally checked out, 100%. My wife had to go through that by herself. Absolutely.
And then how long thereafter did you have a successful pregnancy?
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah, about a year later. If I'm pretty sure that's the timeline.
Okay.
So, and then we had a daughter.
And you had a daughter, and you're working now.
Yeah, I'm working full time. I mean, I'm putting in 70+ hour weeks.
And is that the family business?
Yeah.
And can you describe that business?
Yeah, so it's a concrete company. So I was a concrete finisher, a concrete wall setter. So very, very hard life. Mm-hmm. Very long hours. Very low pay.
Very strenuous work.
Very strenuous work. Probably
Yeah.
some of the hardest work you can do.
Sure.
You know, anything that has to do with concrete, masonry, you know, stuff like that. So, I was a I call myself, at the time, I'm trying to actually kill this part of me, but called myself a self-proclaimed roughneck. And I was very proud of that. Like, it was nothing to, you know.
When you say that, what does that mean? Can you define that?
So nothing scared me. Nothing. There was nothing in the world that you could do that scared me. And that was the problem. I was actually scared of everything when I found out. But like I'd go to work looking for fights. And that's who I was. I was a
So you're
concrete
taking
guy, right?
unnecessary risks.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Can you show fights? You're trying to fight other
Yeah.
coworkers?
Oh, yeah. Just even
Who,
just the
who owns
way
this business?
my dad owned it.
What do you think of that kind of behavior?
He's very passive. He's an extremely passive man. So I think I even intimidated my dad. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just think that it was like, it's just not worth it. He's a he's a mid-20s-year-old guy.
Well, you're also working with other concrete guys
Yeah,
who
yeah.
are all
Yeah.
roughneck guys.
My dad
right?
was a good man, but he's just very passive, and I wasn't. I mean, I was.
He was a business guy.
I would smack you in the mouth. I'd throw a hammer at you. I mean, it was nothing. I'd put you in. I mean,
I would be interested if, one day if we can have another conversation once you're through counseling, as you unpack and unravel what happened in your life to bring formation to that will be very, very intriguing.
Yeah.
And I know that you probably already can see as you think about, when you talked about abuse earlier, not that I want to get into it, but, I think as you can take a step back and look at a young man that goes through abuse, forms specific things that they do to create protections in them, right? And so as they create protections in them, it manifests in different ways. And so the greatest way probably it manifests, especially for men, is in the form of anger, meaning I'm going to put
It's
up
the
this guard.
easiest.
It's easiest. I'm going to put up this guard so you can't hurt me.
That's what
There
it
it
was.
is.
And I'm going to become such a threat that you can't hurt me, but not even that you can't hurt me, that you won't even mess with me,
Correct.
right? And
I would
so,
hit you before you talked.
That's it. And so that became the pattern of your entire life.
Do you remember the story? Remember when we did Spirit Week in school and we destroyed the seniors' hall?
Yes.
And then 5 guys, me and Andy, destroyed their hall. They were seniors. We were sophomores or freshmen. And my mentality was, I'm going to hit you before you talked. And so 5 of them, they knew it was me. They didn't actually know it was Andy, but we were standing there. They walked up to us, and they opened their mouth, and I hit the first one as hard as I could and dropped him. The other one walked up, I hit him. The other one walked up, I hit him. I popped 3 guys within 3 seconds, and they hadn't even spoken yet. And that was kind of just the MO of my life. I would walk around and hit people before they even had a chance. Mm-hmm. And I've inflicted some very unnecessary, very shameful pain on people before, and I've hurt people in a manner of it will scar them forever. And I have to live with that.
A lot of times now, if you get into an altercation, the law gets involved. Law ever get involved in your?
There was no cell phones, man.
Sure.
And so you could outrun the police showing up.
Mm-hmm.
There was, I got in a couple bar fights that ended with men in bloody heaps. And don't get me wrong, I would also get hurt. Mm-hmm. But there was a couple altercations where men would end up in bloody heaps, and you just get out of there before anybody showed up. And there was no cameras, there was no cell phones, there was, that's all new.
Living that lifestyle, angry, physical, how did that manifest at home with a wife and a daughter?
Yeah, I never, ever struck, hit, grabbed, never put my hands ever on any females in my home or any females ever. I had a strict rule.
How did you
that.
create a balance of that? Carrying that anger out in the rest of the world and then come home and it not manifest?
Yeah, so what I would do is I'd rip doors off of hinges. I'd put holes through walls. I would throw I'd get mad at my wife, and there was holes all over our wall. And so I would take it out on things, knowing that I couldn't take it out on her. There was that definite line that I'd set in my head.
Did she feel that? Did
How
she
could
feel
she not?
safe?
She said that I don't think so. She says that she always felt safe, but I don't see how she could have. I think that there's some damage there that we're now walking through and restoring. Now that I'm a changed human being and have the Holy Spirit working in me, through me, there has, she has, we have to restore that. We have to rebuild. We're starting over. And I have to own that. That's the biggest thing, is I have to own that as a man. That I remember looking at, I remember looking at my son and telling him that I'm raising you, put my finger in his chest, telling him that I'm raising you to be a motherfucker. I'm raising you to take over the world, to feel no pain, to take and not give anything back. I remember telling him, you show no mercy ever. I remember telling him, you will never, ever show emotion to anybody because that's weakness.
Did anybody ever say that to you?
I don't think anybody really ever said it. I think it was implied.
Who implied it?
Just the family that I come from.
Can you give me any context to that at all?
I come from
Because these are learned behaviors.
yeah. My mom is a very dialed in human being when it comes to emotions. My mom is very disciplined with what she allows people to see from her. So I think it was learned there. I think it was learned by watching. And she comes from a long line of what I'm going to call generational curses of just discipline. I lived my entire life under the creed of discipline equals freedom. So for me, discipline was no emotion. No emotion. I was a vault. You wouldn't get a smile out of me. To the point where if I walked by a steel trailer and I hit my shin, that hurts, right? You've done that? You've hit your shin on the ball of a truck?
Many times.
I wouldn't even give myself the emotion. I just take it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember inflicting incredible amounts of pain on myself in quietness of, beating myself. I relate very, very well with that movie, The Accountant.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever seen that movie.
I have.
I relate really, really well with that because that type of behavior was the type of behavior that I was living.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I needed pain to make me function.
Make you feel alive?
Yeah, make me feel alive. And so by doing that to my son, raising him to be so disciplined that it didn't matter what was around him, I have to look back at, there's a lot of shame there.
Well, I can see it.
I have to live there.
It radiates off you as you recount the story. How did your son react to that? And what brought up that kind of a conversation? Are you just sitting on the porch and you decide that this is the moment you're going to tap his chest, or
usually sports?
Okay.
Usually sports. I expected him to be great. I would tell him, I'm like, you will play in the NFL. You will.
He was an amazing football player.
Yeah. And
how old is he now?
He's 22, married,
Mm-hmm.
and absolutely loves and chases Jesus. Just loves Jesus more than anything in the world. He's married to the most wonderful, wonderful woman.
Mm-hmm.
So their story is really their redemption story of them breaking free of the generational curse that I was casting onto them is actually what drove me into Jesus' arms by watching them leave what I was living, watching him and his now wife walk away from the generational curses that I was trying to instill onto them. Was really where
I want to bring us back before we get there because that is such a huge part about the change of you. We're not there yet. And so I want to kind of hold off on some of that stuff. What I want to talk about is Lily.
Yeah.
Because this is, I think, for you, one of the things that drove you probably away from Jesus for really set a milestone in your life that kind of pushed you away. You want to talk about Lily?
To set the table on this, you have this older, your first child is a daughter.
Yep.
Second child is the son.
Second child is the son you're speaking about.
Correct.
And
then
the third child we had, her name was Lily Catherine. And there was some issues through the pregnancy, but we just didn't ever really care. We were seeing specialists, and I don't ever remember them saying that there could be problems. Maybe it's just because I was checked out. But I don't ever remember saying those things. My wife does. And let's fast forward to her delivery, and Lily is born by cesarean section. And
Had the other children been born that way as well?
Yeah, so it was very traumatic. Our one son Hunter had to be life flighted, or the first child was a C-section after 27 hours, so you're freaked out as a first time dad. The second Hunter came a month early, had to be life flighted so that he would live, and then there's Lily. So I only know tragedy in my brain through childbirth. Mm-hmm. My wife giving birth to our children was nothing but tragedy to me. And so Lily comes out, and there's no sounds. There's nothing.
She was born with trisomy.
Trisomy 18. So there's 3 trisomies that a human being can be born with. Trisomy 21, trisomy 18, and trisomy 13. And so she was born with trisomy 18.
And what does that mean?
Just like 21 is Downs.
Okay.
It's the only trisomy that you can live with. She had a 99% chance of dying day 1, dying day 2. So the longest living, I think there is a 20-year-old out there with trisomy 18, but most die within hours. Hours. Mm-hmm. And she lived 17 days, the longest 17 days of my life. It changed everything. It changed the entire perspective of everything and who I was. The God I believed in that I no longer believed in. She was born, and I'll never forget, they took her away. And me and my wife, she just got done with a C-section, and we're sitting there, and the geneticist walked in. And the geneticist sits down on the end of the bed, and he sees in an eye, and a tear rolls down his cheek. And I just remember thinking, if a doctor's crying, this can't be good news. And he looked at us and he goes, here's the key. He looked at us and he goes, the human being, there's no explanation for a human being to be born. There's no explanation that how a human can be formed inside of another human except God. That's what a geneticist that has studied science his entire life said. He goes, it must be God. Mm-hmm. And that struck me, but it didn't strike me till 20 years later.
Yeah, it didn't win you over in the moment.
Did not win me over in the moment. And he then went on to say that she had this horrific chromosome disorder. She had a hole in her heart. She would probably die in the hospital. She would not make it past a couple days. We had some choices to make. We could put her on a feeding tube and get a couple weeks out of her. We could just let it just kind of happen by fruition.
What choice did you make?
We did not put her on a feeding tube. She did actually feed. They told her that she wouldn't be able to, and she did feed some. Mm-hmm. She was tiny, 4 pounds.
Yeah.
When you look down at your daughter, and you can't save her, I hated God. I mean, I hated him. I hated him so bad. There's no way that's real. There's no way that God's real. There's no way, is what I thought. There's no way that you can look down at her and think that God's real. There's no way. I hated him. I remember sitting in a parking lot 3 days after her birth. And I'm having a conversation I'm talking to God, not knowing if I'm believing in him or not. And I'm telling him how much I hate him. Over and over and over. I just keep saying it. I effing hate you. I effing hate you. I hate you. Don't ever, ever come knocking at my door. Over. I bent my steering wheel down. I started punching my dash through the plastic, sticking out of my hands. Pain. Over and over. And I'll never forget this. I felt a calming touch on my shoulder. And I heard an audible voice that said, I know that you hate me, but I'm waiting when you're ready to talk. And I'll never forget that. And so, you know, I moved on through life. Lily died at 17 days old. It was the hardest thing we've ever done. Ever. There's nothing harder, nothing, than burying your child. Keep in mind, 2 years before that, we'd buried Season's brother, who was one of my closest and best friends. He got hit by a train. He was drunk. So we got that phone call. And so we felt like we'd just put him in the ground. Andy knew Tyler very well. Grew up together. And then we buried Lily. And I'm like, there's no way God's real. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. So I went on with my life believing that.
Went back to work.
Went back to work.
How's your wife doing?
She's coping.
How so?
On her own, because I'm checked out.
You said she's a Christian lady. She always has been.
Absolutely.
So is she pouring into the church? Is the church pouring into her?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in her Bible. She's in the Word every single day.
Mm-hmm.
She's praying. She has a walk with God, and I don't know how she did it, because I know that I was there, but there was had to be such a disconnect.
I want to go back to that moment in the truck where you felt like God speak to you. You said, I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. How did that impact you in that moment? What did that mean to you?
I just started weeping. Just uncontrollable weeping. I knew that it wasn't a made-up voice. I knew that it wasn't a hallucinogenic or a drug. It was something beyond that. It was a touch and a voice that I couldn't describe. It was a touch, and looking back, it was a touch and a voice that I knew was real. But I didn't want to admit that it was real. It was a moment where he broke heaven and earth and put them together. Some people call that a thin place. The Icelandic people call that a thin place, is when you really experience God. And it was a thin place where I felt the presence of God. I heard his voice. I heard an audible voice that I believe was my father. And I remember just thinking, like, he's real. And I know that he's real. The geneticist told me that he's real. I heard his voice. I felt his touch. But then I would just look at the pictures of Lily and be like, how can you take that away? How can you kill that?
For people that are listening right now that maybe have the same question, you know, we have this all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful God. They ask the question, how could God do that? What would your response be to them today?
Oh. Man.
I know back then what it would have been, but I know God's worked in your life. And I don't want to jump ahead in the story, but I think this is an important question to answer for people, because there's a lot of people out there that have gone through experiences of loss of kids like you've gone through that are wrestling with this question right now. How can an all-good, all-knowing, all-loving God allow such darkness to happen in this world? So how would you answer that?
I look at it now as this long ribbon timeline, this big long ribbon, and we're a razor blade slit in that ribbon. So to God, 17 days of Lily, it might be 1,000 years. And so that's the way I look at it now, is like God used Lily in that moment to minister to nurses, to doctors, to me, to her brothers and sisters. He used her as his daughter to be a light in the world. Today, she'd be 18 years old, graduated high school this year, and we're talking about her.
Mm-hmm.
We're still talking about her. So the hope then, the hope to people now that are living it is, there's a story there that God will use. Her life wasn't meaningless it wasn't any more meaningless or meaningful than mine. And I'm 47. It's the same. He uses his children, and it's not about him being mean and killing her like I thought. That's what I thought. He killed her.
Sure.
It was about, good job, faithful servant. It's time to come home.
Mm-hmm.
So her journey was shorter. Good job, faithful servant. So, whether that's someone like, why did I get cancer? To tell your story. Why did my daughter die? So she could tell a story. Why did Tyler die? I don't, there's a lot of impact. People still talk about him today, right? So that's how I have to live, is like, she lived and did what the daughter of Christ was meant to do in her time. And who am I to say that her time wasn't long enough?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great answer.
I always feel like God working his redemptive power through history. Like God is always redeeming.
Yeah.
So taking something broken in a broken world that we live in and redeeming it, making it good. Right. And so we could look at that, and you have an option, and the way you look at it now is beautiful. One option of way people is that God did this, but that doesn't line up with the character nature of who God is, that God is killing people.
Right.
The truth is that we do live in an ugly world that's broken by sin nature. And so this is the reality of living in a sinful world. But as God is taking something so awful, so terrible, the worst thing I think that a parent could go through, I think the worst thing a human being could go through this side of heaven is losing a child. I think that'd be the hardest thing for anybody to go through, and how do you get through that? And so, but then your perspective on it now, that God's taking 17 days of this beautiful person, and we're looking going, that's terrible, but she only had to endure 17 days on this earth.
Right.
She's been walking with Jesus for 18 years and just joyful happiness that you get to one day go be connected with her again.
Yeah.
And I think that's the more beautiful story that we get to hear now, is God's redeeming power through that. It doesn't feel better here on this side of earth, but when you have an eternal perspective like you have, that's the way you view it. And now it brings joy and peace, and you're able to see it with clear vision now,
right,
as compared to what you did 18 years ago.
She won. She gets to walk with Jesus.
Yeah.
She got the winning gold ticket.
Yeah.
We live in such a broken world that when we're in the world, we don't see that. And so it just looks like death, destruction. Why did I get cancer? Why did my mom die? Why did my daughter die? Why did Jonny get in a motorcycle accident and lose his life? It just doesn't. We can't make sense of it, also because we're not God. And I think sometimes we try to make sense of it. That was the hardest thing for me, is trying to make sense of why would you kill Lily? He didn't kill Lily. Her job was done. She did what she needed to do, and he wanted to bring her home. So, yeah.
So post that now, Lily's died. Lily passes away. What does your life look like now with your other kids? Did you check out?
Yeah. So I got really deep into a dark world of travel and training and the art of a gun and the art of killing a human being. I don't know how else to say it. I would study how to fight somebody in a phone booth. Not that I'm going to ever do that, but I would study how can I kill a human being in a phone booth in this tight little space? Mm-hmm. How can I fight my way out of a vehicle? How can I hurt somebody if they have a gun and I don't? So I just would start studying. I would start watching videos and movies and reading books on the art of killing. Literally read a book I think called The Art of Killing. And so I let my mind, I would go home and I would watch these, Mexican cartel slaughters to condition my brain to be able to see and do these things if need be. And beheadings and knifings and shootings and stuff like that. And I started training other people. I got really deep in like firearms training and hand-to-hand training and CQB training and, stop the bleed training and all those types of things. And I was training then police departments and SWAT. And I would travel and I would train with Navy SEALs and some Delta Force guys and FBI and DEA and just all a lot of police department type.
So you're still working on the weekdays?
I'm
and you're
working.
Traveling on the weekends to take these courses?
So I'm away all the time.
Yeah.
I never see my family really. I mean, I do. I'm there. I'm present. My body is present. My mind is elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I lived. And keep in mind.
What are you visualizing this becoming when you're taking these courses?
That's a really great question. I don't know if I had an end game. I think the end game.
It was an outlet then?
It was just an outlet.
Yeah.
I don't really know if it was an end game. I don't
You're
think
angry. You're thinking.
Yeah.
I've taken a bunch of those classes, and I don't know that my brain was where yours was as the way that you're analyzing this in a past sense. I think I just thought I was looking at it more as being more efficient and effective with these things. God forbid.
Just being prepared.
An instance ever happened, but it seemed more like in the way you're describing it is like this anticipatory, give me the opportunity.
Almost premeditated.
Yeah, sure.
So I led the security team at our church. Mm-hmm. We went to a huge church, biggest church in the Midwest, anywhere from Chicago to Kansas City. This was the biggest church in the entire Midwest, 10,000 plus people. And I led the security there. And so there was threats all the time. There was times where there was actual threats where we would have to contact FBI. We had police on staff, there all the time. So there was actual real things that were happening, and I was preparing. And so I went to church for 13 years, but never once really sat in a service. Mm-hmm. I just would serve. I would show up at 6 a.m., do a bomb sweep of the whole church, check everything, make sure there was no bombs. And I would usually be home every day about 2. So I'm there from 5:30, 6 a.m. to 2. And I never even once got fed. But that's on me. That's not on them.
Sure.
It's on me.
Of course.
But I never got fed. I never sat in service. I never, I was just there. And I was looking for the opportunity. I remember a time where there was a male out in the parking lot breaking into cars with a screwdriver, and he was smashing windows. And he was smash and grab. It happened quite a bit. And me and the officer, the on-duty officer, responded. And we came up behind him. He didn't see us coming, and the officer pinned him up against the car. And he had a kind of a shiv, screwdriver shank kind of looking thing, and he had it in his right hand. And I was on the right side of him, and he looked like he was going to rear back. And the officer kind of had him, but his arm was free, and it looked like he was going to stick the officer. And I remember pushing my Glock 19 up to the side of his head, and just like, I remember telling him, give me a reason. Mm-hmm. Give me a reason. Mm-hmm. There was no, I didn't want to do this. There was I can't wait to do this. Mm-hmm. And that's how I lived. Mm-hmm. Every day. It was nothing for me to have 2 firearms on me, several knives at all times. But I also was involved in some things where that was maybe a necessary evil. I got in, some things that I'd prefer not to talk about, or can't really talk about maybe, but I got involved in some things that were just kind of deep and dark. And so those were necessary things where I had to worry sometimes about my safety and my family's safety because of the choices that I made, and the people that I got involved with.
How did alcohol and drugs play a role in your life at this point in time?
So after Lily, I really started drinking. It was occasional, which occasional was every other night, which turned into every night. And then it just was a routine. I was never really a belligerent, fall down, beat anybody, hit my wife drunk. But when I was 3, I've been almost sober for close to 3 years. At the end of that, it was easily 3 750s a week plus maybe a suitcase of beer and then pills.
Well, I was a guy that if I was conscious I was drinking,
yeah,
I would drink throughout the night. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and take a shot so I could go back to sleep. So
Yep.
that's kind of drinking I did. We always want to be very clear about that, just because it sets, it's the idea of showing the scar
Yeah.
to prove the point. It's not to be braggadocious about it. It's to say, this is where I was at.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much victory on the other side and freedom now that I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And it really shows like the change that Christ can change in the way that you think and your mentality. And
So good.
in the, when I look back upon those times behaving that way and consuming that way, it's like, it's so foreign to
Yeah.
the way that my mind is now. And I think that's what Andy's kind of asking too. It's like your routine. What did the routine look like? Is that you waking up and putting a little bourbon in your coffee, or is this, you still handle all your business throughout the day and get things done, but the minute you're off work, I'm going to start.
The minute I would stay sober usually during work.
Yeah.
Because I was such an intense, like I was high in the air, usually on scaffolding or something like that. So the type of work that I did, I had to be a sober mind. And so I was sober at work, and then the minute I get home from work, I would go straight to the cupboard and pour a drink or crack a beer. Straight to. It's all I thought about.
And there's drugs involved too.
Yeah, there was a lot of pills. The likes of like Klonopin, Xanax, Oxy, weed, things like that. Anything I could really get a hold of. Like I'm sure that, I did some other stuff, but...
Is there any men in your life at that point in time that saw, recognized, knew what was going on, that were ever speaking into your life with that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at one right now. So when you quit drinking, absolutely sent shockwaves through me. Absolutely, positively, the most, probably top 3 ever most impactful things that ever happened to me was when you stopped. Because we were drinking buddies. We were best friends. And when you stopped, I remember thinking, oh, now I'm a loser. Now he quit. If he can quit, he's as bad as I am or worse. And now he stopped. Who am I going to drink with? Who am I going to have stories with? And that's where you catch, and you, former, whatever we were, you look and you don't think you can have fun without alcohol. That's always like, oh, how can I go out and have fun? Well, you learn you have a lot more fun without alcohol. But that was my thought, is like, how can me and Andy coexist? He doesn't drink and I do. And so Andy would continually speak truth into my life, but you did it with the word I didn't believe, mercy and grace.
Would it make you angry?
And it would, but angry at myself.
Okay.
I wouldn't be ever angry at Andy. I would hang up the phone and be like so mad at myself that I didn't have enough discipline or self-control that he did. And so I was mad at myself.
Because you were a disciplined person.
I was so disciplined.
Well, and when you're an addict, you make these promises to yourself every morning that I'm not going to do that same thing again today.
Yep.
And then you break your own promise that you just made by whatever time of the day you start doing the thing you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
And as you build up days and weeks and months and years of making promises to yourself and then breaking them, it's shameful. There's a lot of shame in that.
So much shame.
There's a lot of disappointment. And then it kind of crushes the inner you. And then you'll make these, you'll do things externally to like prove that that's not the case, but really you're not dealing with that inner stuff. So a lot of that violence that you're talking about is a manifestation. It's like, it's something that you're doing externally to try to show others the opposite of how you actually feel inside.
Yeah. I wanted to be the baddest human being I could, and I wanted everybody to think
But
the same
internally, you know that you're a liar.
thing. Oh, yeah.
And you know that you're not disciplined because you can't beat this thing that should be so simple. Look, Andy already beat it.
Yeah.
And other people have. Why can't I?
Right.
Oh, I'm very familiar with this. This is speaking to my truth.
Yeah. Yeah, so when he quit, it sent shockwaves to me because I just...
But he lived in Florida and you still lived in Nebraska?
Correct.
Who's your buddies there? Usually we find a
So
good
I had a
group of people.
defining moment that happened. So I had a really close friend, my Andy at the time in Nebraska.
Sure.
His name was John. And we would do these, hey man, we would drink every night and then send pictures of each other, like how we outdo each other. Ooh, I got a half bottle of Jack down and this, that, and the other. But then we do these like, hey, let's get sober for 30 days. Let's see if we can go 30 days. Usually what happened 98% of the time. Day 2, I really want to drink. Me too. Let's just drink.
Yeah.
That's you've all been there. You've all done that 1,000 times, right? And so I can tell you story after story after story of me and John doing that. And there was this one time where we set out this challenge. We're like, okay, let's go 30 days. Let's not drink. Let's see if we can do it. I caved. It had been so many times that we'd failed that I didn't even text this time. And 2 months after that, me and John sit down at lunch. And he's just having a normal conversation with me. And I'm like, so I'm assuming, like you're back drinking. He's like, and I remember the look was different. He looked at me and he just was like, nope. I'm like, what? And an instant shame. Shame. And I'm like, what do you mean no? He's like, I quit. But it was different. It wasn't like I quit. It was like, I quit. Like Andy.
I'm free.
Like Andy, when Andy said, I quit, it was like that. And I go, what do you mean you quit? He goes, I'm going to AA every day. I've been sober now for, I think he'd said at that time, the timeline was about 90 days. 60 or 90, I don't remember. And he reaches down and he picks up this little blue book. And he slides it across the table to me. I can take you to the booth right now at the restaurant. And it said, Alcoholics Anonymous. And he goes, hey, brother, I would encourage you to read the first 2 chapters. I changed the subject. I was like, I got to go. I slid the book down. This is how much shame I had. I went to my truck, and we all know how much crap a guy can have in his center console. I had like 3 guns, couple knives, flashlights, tourniquets, pens, and I emptied this much junk, which was representation of my life, out of the center console, and I put that book in the bottom like it was going to haunt me, and I crammed all that stuff back on top of it. And I think that's an important story because that represents what my life was like. All the junk was sitting on top, and I moved it out of the way to even put, and I let that book sit in there for about a strong month or 2. And I got drunk on a Thursday, and I got drunk on a Friday, and I told myself on that Friday that I was not going to drink on Saturday because I was tired of being hungover, right? Just kind of sucked. You're hungover, so then you take Oxy in the morning so you're not hungover. Well, I'm drinking again by noon. Saturday comes around, not going to drink, drinking. Something happened. Something unexplainable happened. At this time, I'm still not saved, okay? But the Holy Spirit is working. My wife is ministering heavily to me. My son...
How's that going? What do you mean by that when you say that?
She just is like, I'd see her reading her Bible. I would see her do... And that's why I think it's so important for people to see their fathers, because I watched my wife do it. I think it's important for children to see their fathers read their Bible.
For sure.
I think you have to wake up in the morning and be visible to your family and lead visibly. Don't sit in a room and read your Bible by yourself, bro. Get visible. Your children and your wife need to wake up and see you. And obviously, it doesn't work every day. You might have a meeting, you might have a job, you might have something, but you need to be visibly following Jesus in his word every day. And I watched my wife do that, and I watched my son, that I put my finger in his chest, that son, I watched him do that.
How old is he at this time?
He's 18. And he's going to this new church. He's following Jesus. He's got Bibles spread out on the table, and he's reading them in front of me. And so this is happening. And I just had this feeling of like, it's time. And I walked out to my truck, and I unpacked all that junk out of my center console. I pulled out the little blue book, and I opened it up. I laid back in bed. It's 5-ish in the morning. And I opened it back up. And this is crazy, as I opened the cover, ding, my phone goes off. I look over and I read my phone, and it's from my friend John. And he goes, brother.
The guy that gave you the book.
The guy that gave me the book. He goes, brother, I was praying for you this morning. And God laid you on my heart, and I want to encourage you, if you have not, to open up that book I gave you and read the first 2 chapters. I'm looking around my room like, where's the cameras? Where's the camera? Like, who's videotaping this right now? Am I on candid? Is this fake? I can't make that up. I can't make it up in the moment. And so I did. I read the first 2 chapters of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it spoke truth into my life.
In what way?
I related.
Well, the first chapter is what's his name? Bill is unpacking his experience where he is a complete devilish slave to alcohol.
Yes.
And his life is unmanageable. And it's a very impactful story. If you haven't read it before, I'd encourage anyone that has ever been around an alcoholic to read it, and it will give you a new perspective on alcoholism.
Yeah.
It's spooky. His story is I felt the first time I read it, I felt like a lot of myself in that story.
Oh, it's like you're talking about you.
And then the second chapter, the second chapter then kind of leads you into how they founded this group and how they went about trying to, this kind of first, like the genesis of becoming sober and forming a little group and kind of the outline of what became and is now Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah. And so it just spoke to me in a manner of like, I felt like I was reading a story about myself, and I felt hope for the first time.
Well, because here's now a path.
I'm like, wow, like I heard Andy's story and I saw John's story and heard it, but now there's other people I don't even know that have the same story as me, and they're being impacted. And I felt this, lack of a better term, this pressure removed. I felt like I was in like a weight was on my chest and it was lifted. I felt this just unexplainable freedom to have the power to say, I'm done. In that moment, in that time, I went from being a full-blown alcoholic and drug addict to being sober. I remember looking at my wife. I woke her up and I said, her name is Season. And I said, Season, I'm going to get sober. She's heard it before 12 times. She's like, okay. I'm like, no. I'm quitting drinking forever. I'm done. She's like, you are? You could see hope in her eyes. She wasn't like, are you sure? She was none. It was she was so thoughtful. And she looks at me, and I'll never forget this. She looks at me and she goes, I'll never touch it again then either, ever. And she didn't have a problem. But she would occasionally have a drink with me. She goes, I'll never touch it with you and I'll support you. And I just remember thinking, what? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that for somebody else, right? Like the fact that someone could just selfishly look at you and go, I'm going to change my life to help yours.
Selflessly, yeah.
I was like, what's happening right now? And that's what she did. And I went downstairs and I dumped out almost all my booze. I gave a few.
Was it hard?
No, it wasn't at all.
Yeah.
I had about a several $1,000 bourbon collection. I gave that to somebody responsible. Sure. And,
but your daily drinking stuff, you're pouring down the...
Done.
Yeah.
Brother, I'm talking...
I'm familiar with this.
I mean, I found all my little hidden shooters that I had hidden all over the house, found them, dumped them. Like backdoor beers, out in the garage, and it took a minute. I would find alcohol a couple months later that you'd hide.
But there's something about that ritual.
The ritual.
It was dumping your CDs.
It was like dumping, yeah, but this was
like doing it with your heart.
Yeah.
There's a heart change and there's an intentionality towards it that's maybe different than being motivated by others to burn CDs. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not cool. That's a great word.
And I think that's where you get like a CD burning thing. The intention there is in the same vein as this action that you're taking. But, the motivations are clearly
but it's
separated by...
It's like putting down like the stepping stone, it's like
planting your flag.
It's saying flag.
When they came across the Red Sea, they built an altar to God, right? It was like, this is the day of remembrance, right?
Yeah.
So it is
something huge is happening here. Yeah. I'm going to memorialize this by doing something I've never done. I would never do that 5 seconds ago is insane, but I'm making a stand. And I'm going to actively get rid of this thing that's been a part of this negativism.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And so that was it, brother. That was it. That was done. And I planted that flag, and I've never looked back. But there was something there, though. But like, I think the key for people to know there is like, it wasn't really me. It was me, but there was just something over me that allowed me to have the freedom. And I think that's the key word right there, is freedom. It allowed me the freedom to not struggle anymore. I didn't have DTs. I didn't shake. I didn't go through anything. It just was, I should have.
Oh, God bless you.
I mean, just like 2 months ago, I'm unpacking some old boxes from a move, and I found a 1 gallon Ziploc baggie with just full of white pills that I'd bought off the street. And I looked at my wife. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is how bad it was. 1 gallon Ziploc baggie, full of white pills. But there was tens of thousands or thousands of pills in this bag, right? And there was just a remembrance of me, I think, of like, whoa, at the time, I didn't think I had a problem.
Oh, yeah.
But there's 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 pills in a bag.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
I had a similar thing where when I was just done, I was done. I didn't go through anything, but that's not his story. He went through the DTs and the tremors.
Hey, some people have to.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I needed to.
Yep.
I don't think I would have got to where I needed to be, and God knows me well enough, and I trust his plan clearly. At the time, it was tough, but it was different than that. It was a hard, long months.
Yeah.
Of fighting through, I would have full-on DT seizures where I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see straight, and I would shake, and I'd be on the ground, and I couldn't get myself off the ground. It was ugly.
Yeah.
But, that was something I had to go through to get to where I needed to be to learn the lesson, I think.
Your iron was being sharpened.
Yeah, I suppose it was.
This was pounding out the impurities is what was happening to you there.
Yeah, well, the impurities were being pounded out.
We were not sharpening iron yet. We were still going through the forging process.
Yeah, I was in the fire.
All right, so you're sober now.
Yep.
There's a year in between you coming to know who Jesus is and that sobriety. What happens in that year?
So what happens in that year is me, actually a lot of success happened business-wise. And so we started really growing. Our company started growing. We started getting a lot bigger. So it opened up a lot of doors financially for us. And so I started kind of chasing worldly things. I knew I kind of like was watching everybody in my family chase this Jesus thing, but I was still kind of chasing the worldly things. And
would you say you traded drinking as your idol for materialism as your idol now? Absolutely traded. Yeah. The reason why I think that's important is because we talk a lot about getting sober. If you don't fill it in with something else,
correct,
then it's just too easy for you to go back to what that thing is.
That's a great point.
That is a good point.
And so now you've traded sobriety for materialism.
Yeah. Most addicts, in fact, every addict I've ever known, is an overachiever. They just overachieve at the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's true, man.
So once the guys I know that have gotten freedom, man, they excel. I think about...
They're not quitters. People that don't stop drinking are not quitters. That's the problem. It's like they need to quit something.
If you have to grind every day and somehow you're still able to come up with alcohol and drugs daily, like that takes money and it takes connections and it takes motivation to go get those things. It takes discipline. So if you're able to transfer that to a money-making venture, you're generally pretty successful at it.
Yeah.
Because all those energies are more energies than your everyday regular folk. You don't realize how much energy goes into being a full-time alcoholic or drug addict. It's a ton of energy.
Oh, it's tough.
And thought,
strategy.
And strategy. Yeah.
If you go to someone's house that doesn't drink, you have to figure that out now. Like, oh, I have to drink. Well, they don't drink.
Now, how do I fill this time?
How do I fill that? Like, what do I do?
Right.
So you're
pouring this now into your work.
Yep. So I'm pouring heavy, and we did well.
Yeah.
We did well. We grew from about 15 employees to about 75.
Mm-hmm.
So we grew a lot, and with that came a lot of just success that I didn't really know how to manage. I was the guy that my wife was selling Legos to buy groceries. I was that
in your
guy.
addiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was that guy, right? She sold Legos to put food on the table, right? So now I don't have this drinking problem, and
Now you have this abundance of money.
I have this abundance of money. Yeah. And
What do you know?
And so we were down, and there's a couple key points or key moments where we were down here in Orlando, and my wife and my now daughter-in-law had this long conversation about church and just getting involved. And they were going to this new church called Mercy City. And they were getting ministered to and spoken into, and life breathed into them. And my at the time, my son's girlfriend, not even fiance at the time, she's 17 and just called me out. And I'm talking like, you don't call me out. I'm an alpha, bro. You don't, at least I thought I was, right? But like, you don't call Dave Epp out. And here's a 17-year-old girl who, in my mind, still legalistically, still religiously, is beneath me. And she's like, you're not growing. You're not going anywhere. You need to find Jesus. You need this. You need to find Jesus. You need to be in the Word. You need to be in church. Like, what do you know? And I'm just chastising her, and she's not backing down. And we come back from Orlando, and I'm laying in bed. It's Sunday morning. Andy comes down in the meantime, and I wake up in the morning, and I go and lift, and Andy's like, are we going to church? I'm like, no, I'm not going to church.
And this is in Nebraska?
In Nebraska. Yeah. And Andy calls me out. I don't know if you remember this. Calls me out. He's like, you need to be getting fed, man. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
I said you need to lead your family to church.
Lead your family to church. And that really resonated. And then like a couple weeks later after Andy left, my wife wakes up on a Sunday morning and she's getting dressed, like with nice clothes. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm going to church. I'm going to go with the kids to Mercy City. So my kids led the pact. And then my wife was the one that decided to lead the family. God spoke to me through voices that I didn't expect. That's what the name of my book, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what do you mean you're going to church? She's like, I'm going to go check out this new church, Mercy City. I'm like, I just remember saying the F word under my breath. I was not happy. Because I didn't want to be one of those dudes that we all seen whose wife and kids go to church and the husband lays in bed.
It's pretty ugly.
It's ugly. Even though I didn't want to go.
Happens a lot of churches today.
It happens all the time, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got up and I got dressed and I reluctantly drove 31 minutes across town, which 31 minutes where I'm from is like 2 hours here in Orlando. I mean, it's a drive.
You drive 31 minutes everywhere.
Correct.
Right? 31 minutes is pretty normal here.
31 minutes
Wow,
in Lincoln, Nebraska.
I wish I knew what a short 31-minute drive looked like.
Bro, 31 minutes to get to church in Nebraska.
50 minutes everywhere.
10 everywhere I go.
31 minutes in Lincoln, Nebraska is like 2 hours here. And I'm driving there and I'm like, let's get in a wreck. I'm like, let's do something. Let's hit a curb, pop a tire, do something. And I've heard now like my presence walking in, I'd called the place a cult. Like I have a voice in our city. I own a big company. I'd called it a cult. I called the head pastor a cult leader. And this, maybe not the most popular, it is a husband and wife preaching team. The husband is the leader of the church, and him and his wife together lead the church, and she also preaches. And we're walking in, and I guess just the presence of me was very off-putting, to the point where they even told security, watch him. I was that guy. I was head of security at another church, and now security. I'm so off-putting. Just my demeanor is so off-putting that they have security watching me. And so guess who gets up on stage? The wife. Well, I was raised that women did not talk over men. I came from a background where I don't want to say that my parents taught that, but I was taught that in every church and every school that I grew up in. Women just didn't preach, they didn't talk, they didn't teach, they didn't pray. And she gets up and she brings it. John 15. She talks about being away from the vine, being away from the Father. And she made a comment. She's like, have you ever used the comment? And the comment I loved using, she goes, have you ever made the comment, you do you, I'll do me? And I'm like, yeah, I say that every day. She's like, that's not kingdom. You do him. That's kingdom. And it just spoke life. And I was weeping. Guys, I'm this hard-nosed, roughneck, thought I had it all figured out, prideful, now wealthy in my own eyes. Man, I got all this figured out. And this woman is on stage preaching absolute life-giving, just breath into me from God's word. Everything was out of God's word. This is what God's word said. This is what God's word said. And she just put it, and she just laid it out. And I drove away from there a completely changed man. She brought a message that just spoke life into me, that just resonated with me. And I was like, this is what I'm missing.
So can you describe what the change was there moving forward?
Yeah. So this is the best way. This is the way I tell people now. This is the way it feels to me. And I'll get into that. I feel that every human being is built almost like a puzzle. And inside of them, there's a piece made for one specific piece. You slosh around booze, you slosh around porn, you slosh around weed, you slosh around wealth, workaholic, whatever discipline, you slosh those around. It's made for one piece, man. And that's Jesus. And when you finally find that piece and you fit it in, there's like just this beam of light that comes out of you. Completion. You're finished. And the best way I can describe it is freedom. I finally, when I had freedom, I was now finding freedom. I still was on my journey. The final destination of my salvation came one night at a men's group, but I had this beginning. I started seeing the freedom that I could have in Jesus.
You were being wooed.
I was being wooed, bro. Like, there was like so much, like I didn't chase these things. I didn't care about these things. I was like, God, you take the business.
It's interesting. It's like God puts a pair of glasses on you in that moment. It doesn't mean that you're instantly where you're going to be, but it's somehow gives you the ability to see where he's been.
Yes.
It's like those glasses.
Rose-colored glasses.
Well, I was going to say more, you know, when they write with that ink that disappears,
Yeah.
but then you can bring it back later. And these glasses actually help you see that ink. And the ink is all the times Jesus has been with you throughout your past. And it's like those glasses give you that. And you need that because you need to be able to look back first to see all those different times that he's been there for you to trust that he's going to be there and then really
man.
meet
Really
him where
good.
he is and like submit to him.
That's so
Because you
good,
go like,
man.
wow,
So good.
Holy smokes, look at how much you've done for me. Okay, I'm ready. You know, so we need, I don't know, again, I don't pretend to know a woman's mind, but for a man, that piece that happens there, so I can totally relate to that moment. God kind of really orchestrated all these misconceptions that you had about him and who can speak for him and why they can speak for him and then how to be spoken to by him, and laid it all before you in this moment. That was the glasses being put on. Gives you that different perspective to look back, and now you're able to kind of like, as you start moving forward, it still takes a minute.
Yeah.
You can start moving in the direction that he's going to get you to be.
Well, it finally brings clarity to that audible voice you heard in the truck where
Sure.
God,
There it
Jesus
is.
said, I'm ready when you are,
I'm ready when you are.
right? And all of a sudden, just God speaks to that moment. And so because we say that God is outside of time, like he's always been ready
Yeah.
and he's patient. And I think that's one of my favorite attributes about God is his patience with us. His desire for us is to be obedient, because in our obedience, it brings wholeness and happiness and peace that we don't understand. It's always amazing once you're sober that you can look back and you go, why the hell did I hold on to that for so long?
Right.
Yeah, it's almost scary that you did hold on to
Yeah.
it. There's like a disbelief that you would ever be in that place, but really, again, all these circumstances needed to happen to get you here.
Yeah.
So now you've got these glasses on, as I'm going to call them, and you're starting to move forward here. What do these next couple of steps look like building towards the men's night that you went to?
So it was kind of ironic. I went out to lunch twice with the head pastor of the church that I'd called a cult leader. And I keep in mind, Andy
You invited
knows-
him?
Yeah, I invited him.
Sure.
And keep in mind, Andy knows I have a very heavy, we're 300,000 people. It's a small town, right?
Yeah.
It's a city, but I have a very heavy voice and it carries.
Yeah, if you got a successful business,
And
it
I
matters.
said some pretty hurtful things about him, his family, his church, what he's doing. And so the second time we went out to lunch, I had to look across the table at him, and I said, "Man, I'm gonna stop us for a minute, and I'm gonna apologize." And he goes, "For what?" I go, "For the things I said." I said, "I called you a cult leader. I called your church a cult." And I said all the things, and I owned up to everything that I'd said. And he gets a smirk on his face, and I was like, "Did you know that?" And he goes, "Dave, the whole town knew that. The whole town knew what you said." And then he said something that I'll never forget. He looks across the table at me and he goes, "I forgive you."
Yeah.
And that was some of the most impactful words anybody's ever said to me. He didn't. I talked crap about his family, his sons, his wife, and he forgave me just like that. And I was like, what is this? What is this that you have that I don't? What is this that you are able to do this and have this freedom to forgive human beings? I don't have that, but I want it. I want it. And then he invited me into a men's group, and it was called Freedom. And it just makes you unpack your life. Week by week by week by week, you unpack your life. You unpack the generational curses on you. You unpack the things that you've potentially had done to you, or you've done to your children or your wife or yourself.
Yeah.
And you face them. And then something happened. And I'm going to talk about that if you're going to allow me to. Something happened that I didn't believe in. I didn't believe in the Holy Spirit at all. At this point still. I believed in Jesus, and I was starting to like wanting this, right? I wanted this gift that these people had and this freedom. But I didn't believe. I thought the whole spiritual warfare, the whole Holy Spirit thing was mumbo jumbo. It was Harry Potter-esque to me. Like, woo, I was like, that's not true. And we're sitting there, and I'm sitting in the middle of the room, and it's called Freedom Night. And it's purposely built. And it's very, very intense. It's the end of the session.
Yeah.
And Matt, the pastor, was leading it, and he was asking me some very pointed and specific questions. And what I'm about ready to say, I understand, is difficult for some to like understand, because it was difficult for me to understand. But this is my truth. This is what I saw through my lens. And I'm sitting in a chair in front of a coffee table, just like this one, a wooden coffee table. And I'm facing 6 other men. And he started asking me some pretty hard questions. And something enraged me. And I'm talking enraged me. Something came over me. And I started screaming, yelling, cursing. I smashed my hands down on the coffee table and smashed it to pieces. I'm bleeding. I throw a lamp. I'm enraged.
Are you in the church this time?
I'm in his house.
You're in this dude's house. You
sitting
broke
in his chair.
table?
Oh, I smashed his table.
Jeez.
I didn't break his table. I smashed it.
Okay.
And he gets up.
Don't break this table.
No, I won't.
Just kidding.
He gets up and he walks and he sits direct, and I'm trying to hit him. Everything inside of me is trying to strike this man. I'm trying to hit him in the face.
This is the pastor?
It's the pastor. With
Yeah.
everything and I'm uncontrollable. I'm uncontrollable. And I'm saying every vulgar thing. And I'm almost like voices are coming, like it's almost not even my voice. Right? It's not even like me. It's like this deep, dark, and I'm like curse word after curse word, and I'm cursing God, and I'm cursing everybody sitting there. And Matt gets up and he walks and he sits this close to me. And I'm trying to hit him. I'm trying to strike him. And I can't touch him. I don't know what it is. And I'm doing everything I can. And I'm like trying to, and he's so calm. And he just lays his hands on me and he starts praying over me. And he just starts asking the Holy Spirit to just give me peace. And he just starts asking God to just come in the room, and invites him into the room, and invites him to give me peace and to be the Lord of my life. And he's praying over me. And then he asks me, he says, "Dave, I need you to pray." And I'm just so clenched up, and I'm weeping. I'm bleeding. There's blood coming off me. And he started saying a prayer and asked me to repeat it after him, asking to be free, asking to be released, asking to invite God into my life. And in that moment, I sat back and I felt this overwhelmingly rush, almost like water was flowing out of me, come up out of me. And I watched something leave my body to the left. Clear as bell. Absolutely, positively clear as a bell. Something. I didn't see a face. I didn't see anything like that, right? But I felt something come up out of me and leave. And I sat back and I was instantly calm. Instantly calm. Still bleeding, still crying. And I sat back like I'm looking at Andy. And I looked at a friend looking at me. And I looked at everybody and their look on their face was like, and I just started apologizing. I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. And they're like, no. Dave, they looked at me and they go, you're different. I go, what do you mean I'm different? I'm bloody. I'm sweating. I'm crying. They said, no, your color is different. Your eye color almost. Like, these men were in shock looking at me.
Countenance. Your countenance.
My color changed. They said, your voice sounds different.
Yeah.
And something left me. And then something came in me. That's the only way I can describe it. And I didn't believe in those things, so God showed me what he's capable of. I didn't believe in the Holy Spirit. I thought it was mumbo jumbo. I didn't believe in spiritual warfare. I didn't believe in the actual Holy Spirit coming and habitating in your life. I didn't think that was real until he did it. Until he, what I believe, removed a demon from me. And that was the rage and the anger and just the craziness that I couldn't control. There'd be times where I couldn't control it. He removed that and replaced it with him. And from that day forward, my entire lens, colors are different, smells are different, tastes are different. The way I see things and react to things are different. No, I'm still on a journey. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of old that I
think that's important that people
there the
hear
rest-
that, right?
I'm still
your
really,
life.
I need people to understand really clear. My life didn't drastically get better. It did get better. But there's still a lot of unpacking there.
You didn't go from imperfect to perfect.
Nope.
Okay.
Definitely did not get perfect.
Right.
I'm still in therapy. I'm in counseling. I surround myself with men that speak into my life and women that speak into my life, speak truth into my life, speak biblical. Let's be very clear here. Speak biblical truth into my life. A therapist that gives me Bible verses. Not a therapist that gives me life application and just life application. A therapist that speaks Bible verses and life application into me.
Sure.
I think that's very important. I still struggle to this day, but I now have the tools. I'm in the Word every day. I pray. I have an active prayer life. And I feel the Holy Spirit living inside of me. That's the difference.
Well, we talk about here, too. It's 5 mile walk into the woods, 5 mile walk out of the woods,
Yeah.
right? You had years and years and years of abuse and anger and rage that, yes, you have a defining moment where your life was different, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden I don't have to deal with the ramifications of living a life like that for years and years and years, right? And so 2 things I want to make sure our listeners hear to this is, like, number one is therapy and trauma counseling and all that is valuable, but I think more important within that is that the counselor that you choose needs to be biblically
Correct.
faith-based and understand the Word of God so that the counselor they're giving you is based around Christ. Not that there's not helpful parts of application, right? There needs to be some application that needs to be. There are things worldly that are helpful for you, but if it's not based in the Word of God and the truth of the Word of God, I think you're just replacing it with just another thing.
Agreed.
Right? It's just another
again,
thing I'm filling in with.
You said it earlier. counseling can be very platitude driven.
Yes.
It can be these nice sounding words, motivational sounding things, but if it's not anchored in the truth of eternity, then I don't think you're going to be able to carry it with you into eternity.
I agree.
You know?
That's really good, Johnny.
So you have this moment where this happens. There's this transfer. Now you're in your Bible. Now you're reading. How's your family responding to this? How are the people that are in your life all the time responding to this? How's your business responding to this?
To be honest, this is actually when it got hard.
Yeah. Well, now the opposition has a target above you.
So it actually, when that happened and the freedom happened.
By the way, did you buy him a new table?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not poor. Buy him a new table,
Yeah.
rich guy.
Yeah. So, yeah.
He's just a pastor, for crying out loud.
Right.
He
Jeez
doesn't have a
Louise.
lot of money. This ain't prosperity ministry here.
Yeah,
buddy.
no, and they are now they're literally they're closest friends.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off
No,
track
it's okay.
there, man. So now it's gotten hard.
So now it got
Talk
hard.
about that.
Because here's the crazy part. I really want people to hear this, that to go through this type of transformation. So you've changed me.
Of course.
I see the change. I hear the change.
You know the change.
I
You
know the
feel
change.
it.
Your
But
family sees the change.
But everybody around me is like, it's going to take a minute. I had to walk out of the forest for 5 miles. So everyone's like, that's still Dave Epp. So I'm like, no, I'm different. And they're like, really? Because I mean, like, it takes a minute.
yeah, you got to earn.
You have to earn that. And I was like, no, man, I'm different. So now you have to act like Jesus. That's what we're called to act like. And so it doesn't just, you don't get to tell people, I'm saved, I'm better. I burned a bunch of CDs and now it's okay. That's not how it works, bro.
Yeah, great point.
It does not happen like that. People are like, they need to
They're
see
skeptical.
change. They're skeptical.
You've burnt a lot of bridges down.
Yep.
You've caused a lot of turmoil in your decades of being this other person.
You heard the story I did to my son.
Right.
My son needs
now
to
it's
see
gonna-
a different dad. He needs to wake up and see a dad that's reading the
Yeah,
word.
there needs to be some miles
Yeah.
on this new engine.
Yep.
Oh, really good way to put it, man.
So
And so, like, I started journaling. Oh, right.
that's great. We talk about journaling all the time.
I didn't want to, but I found it super therapeutic.
It's excellent.
Got into therapy. I'm in an iron group with other men that will speak life. I mean, like, and now, like, I mean, a big, like, me and my wife are kind of, we've gone through some things because I'm a new person and she's now learning a new person and we're going through some stuff. And I'm now open, like, I'll text that to Andy and it hurts. I'll sit over a text this is, I think, really, I want guys to hear this. I'll sit over a text sometimes for 40, 50, 60, 70 a day before I push send. But when I push send, there's always freedom at the end of that send because someone's coming to kind of help you. And I think it's really
These
important.
are vulnerable texts?
They're vulnerable texts. These are texts like, hey, man, I'm in it. And I'm struggling. And whether that's maybe somebody jumped off the wagon. Maybe someone is addicted to porn and they're back in it. Maybe someone like me, mine would be rage. I'm not proud of this, but I put my fist through a door in the last month. I'm still in it. The enemy is still there, still tricking me with his tricks.
Gosh.
He's still there. Tricking
course.
me.
He's got one tool.
Yeah.
Lie to you, right?
Lie to me.
That's it.
And so there wasn't this like, yes, I'm a rageful, but I'm now doing something about it as opposed to just living in that filth. That book underneath all the junk, I've now removed the junk and the book is sitting on top. The junk is still in the center console. It's still all there.
He's going to help you dispose of that as you continue to walk through
Absolutely.
years. C.S. Lewis. Shout out to Mike.
So, Mikey.
He has a book called The Screw Tape Letters.
Yeah, really great book.
So it's such a tangible book to a spiritual relationship.
Yeah.
Because you get to see it's all from the position of the opposition. So it's Screw Tape talking to his nephew about how to go about being an evil force in someone's life and taking over them and getting them on the wrong track their whole life and festering them up. And I think there's a lot to be said in that book for the way that the struggle manifests spiritually for us.
I read a book that impacted my life more than probably, and I bet I've read 1,000 books, right? A lot. And it was by Louis Gigolo, called Don't Give the Enemy a Seat at Your Table. And it was about Psalms 23, where the enemy is around us and we're having a conversation right now with God. We're at the table having dinner with him, and he is allowing the enemy to be around us. He's allowing them, but he's got us. As long as we stay focused on him, don't pick up our phone. Hey, me and God are having a conversation, and I don't pick up my phone and check Instagram. I don't look down and grab a bottle when I shouldn't. Like if I stay focused on the conversation with God, he's going to protect us.
Yeah, never give the enemy a foothold.
Never give him. And so that book really, really spoke life into me. And now
it's a great book, man. I've read that book.
We teach it at work. We have a Bible study at work based on that book.
Well, that was the next piece. So now at work, you've started a Bible study.
So 75 people in our company. And I would say, and this just speaks truth to what can happen when a leader changes. And so just by watching, I would say 2 years ago, there was maybe one, possibly two at most people that were going to church. We'll just say going to church. That doesn't mean that their life, but going to church. Before I came, out of those 75 people that are still there, there's now 39 people that are actively in church in our company.
Yeah.
1, 2 to 39. Why? Just be the ripple effects of Jesus and what people are seeing. They're seeing it in my son. They're seeing it in me. They're seeing it in my wife. And then they're seeing it in, maybe we impacted one person, and then they're seeing it in them.
Of course.
Then that person's impacted. And, how do you reach 1 million people? You reach one.
So one of the greatest humans I ever met is a guy named Jack Rapp. He went to be with Jesus some years back. And he said early on in our friendship, I was so enthusiastic for Jesus. I talk about it all the time, but I didn't have any source for. I didn't have any good information. I was just excited. I knew my life had changed.
Yeah.
And I would kind of want to shake guys that I could see struggling and go, just submit.
Yeah.
And that wasn't useful. And Jack told me, hey, why don't you shut up for a while and just let it look good on you.
Yeah.
And I think, gosh, it's like the longer I'm in relationship with Jesus, the more I know other people that I find myself drawn towards. It's because without even using words, it radiates off them. The Jesus in them, the Holy Spirit in them looks good. And their life manifests that, whether they're in struggle or out of struggle. There's a grace that they carry that is so attractive, and it just draws you in, and that is God working through. So as you're changing, of course it's going to inspire the people around you, not simply because you're the boss and you're the authority, but ultimately if you're a benevolent authority in their life and they're seeing these changes, and everybody has a darkness inside of them.
Yeah.
So then as they see your darkness clear up and become light, they go, man, how'd you get there? And yours is this example. That's the calling. And they go, well, maybe I'll try that.
Yeah.
And especially if they're a subordinate. And, there's something to that. By the way, we're submissive to the authority. So there is this chain of command. And as the leader, you have a responsibility here. And it's great once you take the reins that God gives you to be that leader. You are the then spiritual leader of your business.
I felt so called after writing this book to do another one. And like what you just said there, Johnny, really spoke to me. We're called to be submissive. And in today's world, being what I came from and who I was and what I was doing, it was, I'm a lion. I'm a sheepdog. I'm a wolf. We're called to be sheep. There's this new motto out there, and maybe I'm not popular for saying this, but, there's this new motto out there, lions over sheep.
That's Sean Whalen's stuff, right?
Yeah, and there's some good to it.
There's some good to that.
But I will tell you, we're called to be sheep. We're called to be sheep. Now, I believe if we're called to be anything outside of a sheep, it's maybe to be a sheepdog. And we're maybe splitting hairs here on names, but I want to be clear, like I was living my life as the wolf.
Yeah.
And I was devouring sheep.
We see this movement today in the Christian men's Christian world of being strong, being prepared, being an alpha. My life verse is 1 Corinthians 16, 13, and 14. It says, be on your guard,
Yes.
be strong, act like men, let everything you do be done in love, right? So there's a call to us to be on your guard as we are the spiritual protectors of the house. But when we look at what Jesus did, Jesus came in the form of humility. We look at humility, and humility is power restrained. It means I have the ability to destroy you. But because Jesus is within me, I'm going to become humble. You're going to know I'm a powerful man, not by the words and how loud I'm speaking to you, but by the way I carry my life. That's how you'll know that I'm a powerful man. We call it meekness.
So good.
And so it is important that we look the part, that we look the role, because I am there to be protective and be prepared for that. But on the same side of it is when people see me and they see my life and I have the conversations, when they walk away, what do they say about me?
When I was deep into the world of security and I was doing a lot of executive protection type work, I was protecting celebrities and I was protecting musicians and stuff like that. And there's a stat off of what you just, and it's a very important stat. So they interviewed 10 of the most dangerous child sex predators in the world. And they looked for one thing, to a
Weak father.
Weak father. So I understand what you're saying. So please just hear me, and I want the listeners to hear me really clearly. I'm not saying alpha's bad. I'm not saying alpha's bad. Alpha male is not bad. Being a leader is not bad. But we are called to be sheep to our father, right? We're not called to be the lion over him. And that's what I was doing, is I was replacing him.
I think
that's what I was doing, is I was the lion, and I was not allowing him to be.
Yeah.
We have a misconception for what. There's a saying, biblically it says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And that's what we always think strength is. It's
Yes.
like some sort of vengeance run that we're going to go on, where we're going to take out the bad guy. And it's like, that might be part of your journey if God puts you into that position where you have to be fighting to save your family.
Sure.
You should be ready for that moment. We should be prepared for anything. We should be prepared for all things at all times. And so that means physically prepared, means spiritually prepared, mentally prepared. So those things are all great.
Mm-hmm. Valuable.
And they're constantly spoken about biblically. So we should be those things. But at the same time, we see Jesus, who multiple times we're told he could call down a legion of angels to vanquish his enemies and to carry him from this place and to do this or that. And to Andy's point there, the power restrained, if Christ could do that, and we know that he could, choosing not to, and choosing for even himself to submit to the great plan of God, is what we have to do as men still.
Yeah.
We have to submit ourselves to God's great plan.
That's it.
Because he will then keep
So
us on the
good.
exact path.
So good.
If we have to act, be ready. Be ready. You know, the wolf comes at the hour of the night we don't know. So be ready for that.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean going out and seeking out
That's it,
violence and seeking out to prove that I'm strong.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, the devil walks around like a roaring lion
you
looking
go.
to devour people. So we need to be ready.
Yep.
We need to be on guard. I'm not saying walk around as a sheep and be devoured by the devil.
No,
We didn't hear that.
What
Yeah,
we're all
right.
doing here is kind of working
I just want the
out
listeners
this.
to understand
Yeah.
I wasn't saying that. I
think there's nuance to what you're
I'm
saying.
also not saying
Absolutely.
that lion over sheep is bad. I'm
Right.
saying that you can make that. I made that my God, that I'm going to be
Precisely.
a lion.
You put that above God's
I
plan.
put that above God.
Your plan was above God's plan. We're saying God's plan is first.
Right.
And be prepared. I'm the protector of my household. I'm a protector, and I'm responsible towards my employees. I'm a business owner too.
Yeah.
So we have these various tiers of responsibility that we have to be ready for and be ready to act in as the authority in those places.
Yeah.
You know, as we move kind of now to landing this plane here, I want to kind of talk about this book.
Yeah.
We spoke a little bit about it yesterday on the boat, and you said, you know, you thought you had this plan for this book, but some people kind of helped you to see the bigger picture of who your book could affect. Why don't you talk to us about the idea of writing the book, kind of what the book is about, and then where people can go about finding it.
Actually, the book inspiration, I dedicated it to my wife, and I have to give 100% credit to the book inspiration to Andy. 100%. Not even like 1% goes to anybody else.
Okay.
My wife inspired, like my wife it's dedicated to her, but Andy inspired it. And
How?
Because when I was going through my finding Jesus phase, and especially when I got saved, we would get into these long, deep conversations about biblical truths. And we always agree, because we would both go to the Bible. And he was also a teacher for me. Keep that in mind. He was sharpening my iron because I was a baby eating baby food, like Paul says. Mm-hmm. You know, Paul talks about that a lot.
Mother's milk.
Spiritual milk. Yeah.
Spiritual, and so like I was going to him. I would text him these, what I considered very infant type questions.
Sure.
But he was so graceful and merciful, and he would answer them. But the one we would kind of go back and forth on was women in church. And I'm not going to dive deep into that. There's a whole nother day for that. But we would talk about that. And so that's what drove, I started researching and reading and diving deep. And I started writing. I got 5 pages. And I was just going to send him this writing. 5 pages deep, 10 pages deep, 50 pages deep. 300 pages later, I had this book of just my story and the intertwining. And then so I gave it to the first editor, and she's like, you got something here, but we need to strip 50% of it. I'm like, 50%? I want to throw away 50%. And so she sent it back to me. She cut like 5 chapters.
Yeah, there's a refining.
Oh, yeah. And then rewrite this one, change this one. This is the chapter 13 is now chapter 1. I'm like, what? And then this went on, and after 9 times, then she's like, now it's ready to go to the editor, like to the actual, like this lady that did this was such a wonderful human being to do this. It's actually her name is Alita. She is the
Shout out to Alita.
She is the founder of Women, or her, not founder, I'm sorry. Her and her husband, GJ, who I'm going to do the podcast with, are the owners, and they run Women.
Shout out to GJ.
Women of Faith, which is a big organization. But so she just kept refining it. And at the time, I wasn't letting anybody else touch it. My wife was like, can I read your book? No. And that was a little contention. She wanted to read my book, by all means. I'm like, it's no. You're too. Well, first of all, my wife is in every chapter.
My wife wishes I would stop running my ideas past her. Oh, she would kill for that to be the case.
Yeah,
I wish I had any restraint. I'm like, honey, look at this thing that I did. She goes, shut up, get that up. Who cares?
So
that needs work.
To this day, I mean, I'm what, like 6, 7, 8, 9 months deep, and my wife still has never seen it.
Wow.
She's never even put one word. She's never seen one word.
Wow.
So we're getting close, though.
That's exciting.
And so basically, it's just about the people, the unlikely people that spoke into my life, that pushed me and led me to Jesus. And you know, like my hat says found, you know, like I was the one that he left 99 to come find me. I wasn't worthy to be found. I was the black sheep 5 miles deep.
Well, the reality is none of us are.
Yeah, right. Nobody is. I wasn't worthy of that. Like he should have.
What we bring to the table is filthy rags, brother.
That's it, man.
And as a human being, I'm like, why would you leave those 99? They're clean. They're white. They're eating.
Well, that's why Matt could forgive you so easily.
Correct. And so
he knows what he brings to the table.
But when you live lives like we've lived, I think that is one of the fruits of that is when you can take a step back, as Jonny was saying, with those glasses, and you get to look at this trail of wreckage behind you, and still to know that Jesus is looking at it, going, "Yeah, I forgave all that."
Yeah,
and I love you this
and
much.
I love you.
Yeah.
And if you come
and
from a home
plans and
where I love you wasn't a thing you were told, I was, thankfully, my mom and dad always I loved you. But if you come from a place where you don't hear I love you, then to hear a father speak to you, not only do I forgive you, but I love you.
Yeah.
And here's how much. It just speaks to your heart even more now to give you resolve where I'm never going back to that again. Now, we have to be careful, right? This is why I believe being on your guard is when you say I'm never going back to that again, is we have to stay on our guard, because the moment I feel like I've got that thing licked and I put my guard down, the devil's crafty and he steps back in and goes...
And you punch a hole in the wall.
Punch a hole in the wall.
And he finds different ways. That's what I figured out.
Of course he does.
He's
now he
crafty.
finds biblical ways, what I think are biblical ways to get in front of me.
Did it really say that?
Yeah, right?
Is that what the Bible really says? It
puts-
kind of happened with Eve.
Puts people now that in my life, and I'm like, oh, well, we go to the same church. They must be on the same path as me. Or we get into a biblical discussion, which turns into a fight. And I'm like, why are we fighting?
Remember, Paul said this: "Run your race.
Correct.
Run the race God has set before you."
So, yeah, and so now we got to the end, and it's a short read. It's not going to be very long. I'm being told, like everybody's always critical of their own work. I'm being told it's a very impactful story.
Yeah.
And so Andy is very heavy in it. He's in many of the chapters, a lot of our stories together. So and he's never seen it. I'm excited for him. He probably won't read it, knowing Andy, but
I'll listen to it. Can I do the audible of it?
Well, I'm going to try to get an audible of it.
Can I read it?
So, yeah,
Then you can hear
heard Andy's reading.
I'm really
Then you can hear
excited.
my voice in perpetuity.
I'm really excited though. I was not a very
Scholastic,
scholastic student, and so to
scholarly.
to have a book is pretty pretty cool for me.
So it comes out in a month.
Yeah.
How about this podcast?
So this podcast is going to drop any minute. We're actually actively looking for a producer. #Felix. Yeah, we're all set up. Our set is built, and so we're going to do it on the back of Women of Faith, and we're going to. They're starting
In association with Women of Faith.
Women of Faith, so it'll be called Men of Faith. So we're really excited. It'll be very similar to your guys's. Our inspiration kind of came from you guys. To be brutally honest, like we watch your guys' podcasts. Me and his name is GJ. He has a lot of unbelievable life experiences. Knows some very heavy hitters in the world, which is really cool for his story. He's very humble about it, and so yeah, you guys inspired us.
Awesome.
And
Listen,
so
the more men that are out there talking about their stories,
Yep.
and sharing the impact of their stories and what God did through their stories, we can't have enough of those people that are on here.
That's the absolute truth.
Right?
There's no competition in this market.
No,
man.
None.
Yeah, that's not what this is.
It's all love. So when you guys do get ready to start launching that, let us know. We'd love to help in any way that we can.
Yeah.
We could use Felix.
We're not going to give you Felix.
Okay.
Felix
well-
goes nowhere.
Felix stays here. There's lots of other ways we can be helpful. That's not
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
What else would you like people to know? How can people go about so they can support your book on any of the platforms? If there's like a final word that you could give to somebody that's maybe struggled with some of the things you have, the anger, coming out of this trauma, seeking counseling, overcoming alcoholism, drug addiction. What would be a message you'd give to somebody that's maybe still in some of that stuff?
The quintessential thing for me is I lived my entire life on the motto of discipline equals freedom. And what I now believe and now how I live is discipline in Jesus equals freedom. You have to add the word Jesus in there.
Yeah.
And so there is hope because we're a bunch of misfits sitting in this room. And if you're listening to this and you're a misfit, we were just as bad or worse. And there is freedom in Jesus. There's so much freedom there. And you just have to start, man. You just have to be like, today's it. Today's it. I'm done. It's not about, I can't have fun at a party without alcohol or drugs or pornography or cheating or any of those things. There's so much more freedom without those things.
Yeah.
And that's where it's at. It's not, discipline doesn't equal freedom. Discipline is important, but discipline in Jesus is where the freedom comes. And if he can save me in the darkness, and he can save you in your darkness and you in your darkness, he can save anybody.
Yeah.
And he will. He will. And he's so wants to leave the 99 to find the one. That's what he wants. That's what he desires. He will walk away from the 99 knowing that they're fine to go get that one and bring it into his flock.
He will.
Yep.
And so there's just so much, freedom in that. And it's my life has never been on a better trajectory than without those things. So now that I have Jesus.
It's the concept of surrender.
Yeah.
Right, is when you actively surrender your life, that's where you find freedom and you find hope. And Jesus tells us in his word that he is faithful to complete it. He who has started a good work is faithful to complete it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing happening is God completing that work with you. Brother, I'm so freaking proud of you, man. I love you dearly, and I know you know that. But I just stand out here and have a 10,000-foot view of your entire life, and you the same with mine, and just be able to see what we were then and to what we are now, and just the words that were spoken to us of, you guys will never amount to anything in high school. Just when we look at probably the majority of people we went to school with in a Christian school that are not following Christ, just to see two misfits.
Yeah.
And then the fun part to see God use misfits. Man, there's so much joy in being able to watch that. And so I just keep doing what you're doing.
Andy was the guy that was actually voted by the class to be our class president, and the school vetoed it. Like, he was actually voted on to be our class president, and the school wouldn't allow it. That's the way we
either.
That's the way we were viewed. So you're so right.
I still would veto myself. I would veto him. I veto him on this podcast. Dave, your story is inspirational. Thank you so much for having the vulnerability to share it. And it's very inspiring, buddy. Friends, thank you for joining us. Thanks to Dave for coming through. I think if there's anything to take away from this that I'm going to take away from, it's that message that he had about that void inside of you. Are you trying to fill a void? Is there an emptiness in you that you're putting all these things in, thinking that that's going to give you the fulfillment you seek? Let Dave's story resonate with you. There's only one piece that's going to fit that puzzle, and that piece is Jesus. Give him a chance. Submit that one time and just ask him in. He will come in and fundamentally, radically change and fill that place. Guys, thanks again for joining us. We are Untrained Philosophical Discussionists. My name's Jonny Hanson. That fellow right there is Andy Lamb. We want to pray that you have a deep and a fulfilling relationship with Jesus, and that he blesses you all the days of your life.
And all God's people said,
they said amen.
Amen, brothers. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you, man.